Well, hello, Good Vibes Show fans. Welcome to episode 9 of season 15 of the Good Vibes Show by me, Jay Haley, part of the Special Chronicles Network. Hope you've all been catching up on seasons 1 through 8. No, episodes 1 through 8 of the season 15 of the Good Vibes Show, as well as seasons 1 through 14 of the Good Vibes Show, and their recap specials and my special, The Road to 2022 USA Games, which talks about my training up to and the results of my training at the 2022 USA Games in Orlando, Florida. So, folks, those who are tuning in, like by this point, you're like 3/4 into this season, which is kind of weird. But like, yes, this whole season 15 is about the history of the Good Vibe Show. So, origin, premise, the recording formats, podcasts, social media, join the Special Chronicles, our guests, technology, Zoom backgrounds, seasons 1 through 6. And today's episode is about seasons 7 and 8. And actually, I'm going to throw in here my Road to 2022 USA Games special in here because technically this coincide during these two seasons actually. So when I was looking through this, 7 is the first season that talks about it went to the 12 episode format. Season 8 was 13 episodes for some reason. I think I just did it because I felt it was cool, but maybe I was trying to aim for a number I don't recall. And yeah, they were kind of like the big ones there. And I think looking back at both of them, 7 was like leading up to the 2022 Special Olympics USA Games, which prior to that, I talked about there was a special I did coincidentally during episodes, I think season 6 and 7, and I think it started in 6 and went through 7 and went into the post 7 and probably after between 7 and 8. Talking about my train up to the 2022 USA Games in Orlando, Florida, and then ultimately I did recap it. But that was like once or a week type thing, talking about what I was doing and sharing with folks what was going on. 7 was kind of talking about various things that were leading up to USA Games. I know my friend Lonnie Snyder was one of the episodes in episode 7. Don't remember which one. And by episodes, that's in season 7, by the way. I meant episodes of season 7. Not sure which episode. Apologies. And by that point, season 7 and 8 didn't have guests, and actually I didn't do guests anymore on the show because the format made it hard to do it. I think there was a reason why I did it that way. I think I'm kind of thankful, kind of sad and not thankful that I went away from guests after episode season 6. Why I keep saying episodes is just because there's so many episodes to think about, guys, of the show. And it's kind of thinking about season 7, 8 were kind of like the more like the kind of like the calm before the 2022 USA Games and talking about it, and also talking a lot about earning. So yeah, it was kind of like a lot of stuff going on there and such. So yeah, it was kind of like a big thing. And I know a lot of folks might have noticed in all of the previous seasons. I think even season 5 through even most of the seasons 3 through 8 all had these. Some had some very fun. All these seasons had episodes had very wacky, fun, very creative Zoom backgrounds. Eventually, I decided to go to a more streamlined look eventually for the show, and I have to remember which season it was, but I think after 8, I kind of still was fooling around. But I think but in the later seasons, I eventually went to a more streamlined, and eventually went to different styles. Eventually in recap and a lot of things, and actually in some of them were kind of big ones and such. So yeah, I think looking at them just realizing now, just talking about it, yeah, if you ever watched the videos, there were some fun backgrounds. Unfortunately, some episodes were taken off Facebook because of some things, but they do exist thankfully on YouTube. So if you ever want to watch them, but yeah, you can see how crazy some of the backgrounds were, and I'm like, I think I was just having too much fun with Canva at the time, to be honest. And that was before I got more creative with the show, and it just happened to go that way. And I think just thinking about the Zoom backgrounds now, wow, on some of them. I think now thinking about them because there were quite a few jellyfish ones in there. I do remember that. I do remember also a waterfall one, some very picturesque ones. I think I ended up using also for some of them some phrases from an anime. I ended up posting the on a video with them on the background, and it just worked. It was like kind of me doing a transparency technique on them. So yeah, having too much fun with that. But looking at them, I think they were all kind of fun and creative. I think the ones I was talking about, they actually have the banners from an anime. Not gonna say on this so I don't get flagged. Honestly, because the name of the anime, of course, I think those were used in seasons as well. Eventually, I went to I think I settled on ultimately just using the Good Vibe Show logo and the Special Chronicles logo when I eventually had to. So yeah, but I think looking at, I think season 6, I believe, was when I joined the Special Chronicles Network. But I think it was much later. I don't recall at the read my things probably, but season 6 was when it happened officially. So I think by season 7 or by some point in the season, I did eventually have to use the laptop I have now. And I do note the one thing at the very end. That's something we'll talk about in a later season because that happened just actually last year. So yeah, but yeah, there's a lot to think about in season 8. Just thinking about all those backgrounds, but like the subject matter, those were great. Season 8, actually, I want to point out particularly because I actually wrote out the whole season what I wanted to say in that season, and that's kind of like an interesting thing because some seasons were not fully written out. Season 8 was the first fully written out one, and I think season 9 was kind of like that. But then we were getting ahead of ourselves. But then like some of them were more written out. This season 8 was like the full written out with the appreciation support 5 section, as then the slash off to the positive updating device. So like there was an actual distinguishation between the two. I think in 7, I just wrote dates. I don't know why I didn't write the subject matter on. That's the same for 6 too, believe it or not. And yeah, it was a lot of I think looking just at 7 because it was all pre USA games and everything and such. And I think 8 was like post USA games, and I think at that point I was also within the young professional board that I don't really talk about much on here, but every now and then I do. I talked about the various key people on there and how things happen. I think season 8 sort of coincided me being the vice president elect for the young professional board. So yeah, so it's kind of like talking about all these things, and it's just an amazing thing to go back on. I do believe when I officially did join the Special Chronicles there, it was kind of a big thing. I had to remember when it happened. I might have to message my friend Daniel about it, but I'm pretty sure it was season 6, folks. So I think I did eventually have to do this logo. Switch up, as I said, but I had to double check an actual footage from season 6, I believe. But I had to double check. I really do have to double check when that happened. So yeah. But yeah, it was a lot. At that point, like there was a lot going on. I think it is an impressive amount of how much the Good Vibe Show became at that point part of my routine of what I do. And 8 kind of was like became the premise of like just write out your thoughts, what you want to say, or write down the subject matter. Then you just have to go ad lib with it, which by everyone knows I'm very ad lib by now in all these shows. So thank you for all listening and hearing me talk about season 7 and 8, as well as the Road to 2022 USA Games special in this episode, folks. So let's wrap up today's episode. Man, I can't say episode today, guys. I don't know why. I can say episode season. So yeah, I don't know why I get the mix up. I'm being honest. That's kind of what you get for me ad libs. But anyway, let's wrap up today's episode from our great sponsor, the Special Chronicles Network. The Good Vibe Show is proudly featured on the Special Chronicles Network. Visit specialchronicles.com for links to follow on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, now known as X. Be sure to also subscribe to the newsletter and find the podcast page for this podcast, The Good Vibe Show by me, Jerry Holley. If you love The Good Vibe Show, then you'll love the other podcasts on the Special Chronicles Network. Visit specialchronicles.com for links to subscribe to our podcast, newsletter, and to follow us on social media. And to support the podcast and podcast on Special Chronicles, Special Chronicles, apologies again, folks. So we can continue our mission of giving respect and voice to people with special talents and abilities. Visit specialchronicles.com/give to make a gift today. And yeah, I do apologize, folks, and I do apologize to Ian right now outright if he's going to listen to this episode of me botching up the sponsor. I do apologize, but I talk too fast. I'll admit to that. So remember, folks, to follow the Good Vibe Show on Instagram at Good Vibes by JH. Facebook, facebook.com/goodvibesbyjh, YouTube, youtube.com/goodvibesbyjh. Also, subscribe to the Good Vibes Show by me, Jerry Hill, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. If you want to support me more, look me up on Redbubble, Jerry M. Holy. If you're watching the video format and notes the name of it, where you can find me. But yep, look up Jerry M. Holy on Rebel. You can see all the 120 designs. You will find the new Good Vibes Show logo on there as well. That's on the Hawaiian shirt I'm wearing. And I thank you all tuning in for episode 9, folks. I know I think it's a lot to hear me just talk about the previous seasons of the Good Vibes Show and re-looking at them. It's kind of fun. So yeah, I appreciate y'all taking the opportunity to listen in to me. And I thank you all again for tuning in to the Good Vibes Show as well. So until next time, folks, peace out. Boop, blah. And I'll hope you all enjoy this episode. I hope you come back for next week's episode 10 of season 15 of the Good Vibes Show by me, Jerry Harley. Until then, folks, I hope you all stay safe, stay positive, and spread good vibes. So goodbye, everyone. I'll see you next time for episode 10. Bye, everyone.